This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Chen Feng. You're too savage. Xiao Jingming trembled with anger. Being scolded in front of his goddess, he trembled and said, "Wait till you're beaten up by that Li Feiyu. I'll see if you can still be so arrogant." Brother Jingming is angry. The young master will not be defeated by the four greats of the north. Xia Shu covered his mouth and laughed. Didn't you see those people from the merchant union? They didn't even dare to see the young master's face. They were so scared that they lost. Xiao Jingming was embarrassed and angry. You broken shoes, shut up. Chen Feng, if you had the ability, you wouldn't have been slapped by some random person and come back with a pig's head on your face. You wouldn't even be able to recognize Elder Zhu. The carriage trembled violently, showing how indignant Chen Feng was. The four maidservants' faces also changed. The conversation between the few of them was not concealed at all, and it was clearly heard by the people below. All of them were dumbfounded, and they were all thinking to themselves, there's actually someone who dares to slap the son of the sect master of the Blade sect? Just who is so heaven-defying. However, when they thought about how this person's face had been slapped like a pig, all of them felt extremely relieved, and they instantly felt like exhaling their anger. Zhu Keating's face darkened as well. Don't argue, let's go back first. The crowd followed the empty bridal sedan and left. Ding Ling sighed, and her face showed infinite desolation. He still didn't come. His heart ached, and his face gradually lost its color. I'm sorry I'm late. I should have made it. A faint voice rang out, and then a beam of light flew down from the sky and landed directly on the Tiandang celestial plate, revealing Yunxiao's face. I think I heard it was my turn? Young Master Yun. Everyone in the Tianyuan Trading Company's seats stood up, looking pleasantly surprised. Ding Ling couldn't care less about the crowd, and her tears flowed down. Looking at them, Yunxiao made a gesture to indicate that he was fine, and everyone immediately felt relieved. They felt as if the clouds had scattered and the world had become clear. With a smile on her face, Yunxiang held Ding Ling's hand tightly and said, I said, we should believe him. It's him. Before Yunxiao's opponents could reach the stage, a loud roar of rage suddenly rang out in the sky. The palanquin, which had been far away, suddenly exploded, and a white figure streaked across the sky like an arrow, shooting straight at him. Chen Feng. What's going on? Zhu Keating was shocked and immediately chased after him. Chun Qin's face was filled with fear as she pointed at the figure on the jade plate in the distance and said, It's him. Everyone was confused by what they heard. They only felt that Chun Qin could not even speak clearly in her panic. Immediately after, the other three maidservants also revealed a look of panic and cried out repeatedly. Xia Shu suddenly said, He's the one who seriously injured young master and slapped young master 20 times. This time, everyone was stunned. Not only the people from the Blade sect in the sky, but all the people from the Merchant Union in the central square were completely dumbfounded. Their brains had short-circuited in an instant. Shui Luoyan's expression turned extremely ugly at the same time. Shock, loss, daze, despair, jealousy, anger, and many other different expressions flashed across her eyes. Then, she also turned into a ray of light and flew over. Xiao Jingming could not react for a long time. Not only could Yunxiao defeat him, but he could also defeat Chen Feng? He was so powerful in both martial arts and magic. The members of the Blade sect were all driven mad as they flew back one after another. The people of the Merchant Union were dumbfounded for a moment, and after their brains short-circuited, they were immediately shocked and stared at Yunxiao as if they were looking at a monster. Not to mention the strength he had shown to defeat Chen Feng, the courage he had to slap Chen Feng was something that they could not help but admire. Su Donha suddenly felt that she wasn't wronged at all. This person even dared to slap the young master of the Blade sect, so what else couldn't he do? So, your name is Li Yunxiao. Damn it. Qinfeng's earth-shattering roar resounded in the sky as a sword radiance descended from the sky like a bolt of lightning. The sword chi was so powerful that it illuminated the entire square. Everyone's hearts trembled violently. The abilities of the son of the sword sect master were indeed extremely powerful. Just a casual strike like this was already not inferior to Liang Yui's earlier. In fact, everyone had overestimated Qinfeng's strength. This was not a casual strike of his, but one that contained infinite anger and killing intent. At this moment, his eyes were bloodshot, and he plunged down from the sky with the momentum of the sword, determined to kill Yunxiao. Yunxiao frowned. He stomped his feet on the ground and shot out, changing his figure several times in the air before finally landing on a statue on the four corners of the Tiandang enamel plate. The statue was of a martial artist making a hand seal. He stepped on the seal with one foot and looked down coldly. Boom. The sword momentum struck the jade plate, and a defensive power was triggered. It was a five-colored light that rippled like a rainbow. It was very beautiful. After Qinfeng's attack missed, his hatred did not diminish. The thorn of the purple snake in his hand suddenly rose again, and he thrust it at Yunxiao. Yunxiao frowned and said coldly, "Lord Cui, is my opponent this madman?" Cui Bo was also shocked by the series of changes. As soon as he heard Yunxiao's words, he immediately clapped his right hand and shouted, "Stop!" A wave of Emperor Qi landed on the jade plate, instantly suppressing Qinfeng's sword aura. It gradually dissipated, and an invisible force bound Qinfeng, making him unable to move. "Cui Bo, what are you doing? You dare to attack my young master?" Zhu Keating shouted in shock and anger. Cui Bo stared at him coldly and said in disdain, "What a joke. As the host of the martial arts competition, I'll stop or kill anyone who tries to disrupt the process of the martial arts competition. Do you think I dare to do that? You want to make an enemy out of the Blade sect?" Zhu Keating's expression changed drastically as he said angrily. Yunxiao turned his eyes and snorted, "Making an enemy of the Blade sect? What big words, who do you think you are? The business alliance is spread all over the world, and even the Holy Region wouldn't dare to say that they're enemies, if they work together. Are you trying to provoke a feud between the business alliance and the Blade sect? With such hatred, do you dare to make a decision?" Zhu Keating was shocked and speechless. If he really made the Merchant Union and the Blade sect become enemies, Chen Duantian would probably be the first to skin him and come to reconcile. Although the seven great forces under the sanctuary lived in harmony with each other, there were constant conflicts of all sizes in private. Over the past hundreds of years, a certain balance had been formed. If the ferocious tiger of the Merchant Union was drawn to the scene, the Blade sect would be in a precarious situation. Yunxiao's words reached the ears of all the disciples of the Merchant Union, and when they saw that Zhu Keating did not dare to answer, they suddenly felt relieved and their faces lit up. That's right, this was the Merchant Union. The purpose of the business alliance's establishment was to unite and fight against the outside world together. This was why it could become a great force that could contend for power on the continent and make the Holy Region afraid. If everyone was at odds with each other and couldn't unite against the outside world, even the strongest myriad treasure tower would probably be annihilated by the Blade sect. As long as they were united, they could defeat anyone. There was nothing to be afraid of even when facing the Blade sect. Everyone felt their blood boil as they felt embarrassed by Qinfeng's display of power. The people of the Mando Chamber of Commerce were also in a daze at this moment. The sense of honor of the Merchant Union rose spontaneously, and they began to doubt that they had found such a ferocious foreign aid. High in the sky, Shui Luoyan stared blankly at Yunxiao's figure below, her fingers digging into her flesh. Well said. Zhu Keating, if you dare to make a decision, I, Suebua, will also make a decision today. So what if I write a letter of challenge to your Blade sect? Cui Bo's aura was also overbearing as he used this sentence to suppress the other party. Zhu Keating's face darkened and he quickly said, "Cui Bo, you misunderstood me. However, as the host, how about you attack my young master?" Cui Bo replied coldly, "He broke the rules. He's already giving your Blade sect face by not killing him. If you don't want anything to happen to you, then go to the side. With a wave of his hand, Chen Feng's body was immediately thrown out of the plate by a huge force. Zhu Keating hurriedly flew up and caught Chen Feng. He suppressed his anger and returned to the Mando Chamber of Commerce's seats. Shui Luoyan and the others who had come from afar also landed one by one. However, their expressions were ugly as they left in an imposing manner. They had not even taken a few steps before they returned in a sorry state. After Xiao Jingming recovered from his shock, he laughed and said, "Chen Feng, if you can't beat him, then just stay put. Don't you think you've lost enough face? You coward." Chen Feng's face was as red as a pig's liver. He gritted his teeth and said, "I want to fight him again." Fight? How to fight? Xiao Jingming said sarcastically, "A few days ago, even Elder Zhu couldn't recognize you with your pig-like face. Do you think that even the sect leader won't recognize you when you return to the Blade sect? All right, that's enough." Zhu Keating couldn't take it anymore and scolded. Although Xiao Jingming and Chen Feng were not on good terms, this was a matter that concerned the reputation of the Blade sect, so they couldn't act recklessly. Yunxiao flew down from the seal on the statue from the jade plate in an extremely carefree manner as he chuckled and said, "Fight me? As long as you have the ability to fight your way up, you will eventually have the qualifications to fight me." His nonchalant attitude made everyone feel like they were going back and forth, as if a martial arts grandmaster was waving at them from the front, moving forward along the endless road. All the martial emperors present had looks of admiration and solemnness on their faces. They did not have Yunxiao's extraordinary bearing, let alone a young man. "Well said," Cui Bo praised. "Let's start the 6th match. Let's go all out." A young man in brocade clothes shook his head with a bitter expression. "Forget it. I admit defeat. I won't go up and embarrass myself." His admission of defeat was within everyone's expectations, but it also seemed magnanimous, much more carefree than Liangji's admission of defeat earlier. "All right," Cui Bo nodded, "just do what you can." Then, the next match, Li Feiyu vs Jiang Qiu. Everyone looked at the list of battles. In addition to the first battle between Tang Jia and Liang Yui, there were several other decisive battles outside of the 7 chambers of commerce. The rest were without suspense. This time, the difference in strength between the 7 chambers of commerce and the other chambers of commerce was too great. It was almost impossible for them to counterattack. Tian Yuan, Mando, and Lei Feng, who were originally not very optimistic, were even better, directly suppressing the 4 core alliances. Yunxiao returned to Tianyuan Trading Company's seat under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Ding Ling was very nervous. She said in a low voice, "Young Master Yun, Chanqian." Yunxiao smiled. There were too many words in this, "Young Master Yun." "I'm sorry, I misunderstood you yesterday." Ding Ling's body trembled and she cried happily, "It's all right, thank you." Silence was better than words. The friendship and trust between them would only be stronger from now on. "I've figured out Yuan Bo's matter," Yunxiao said in a low voice. "Perhaps we'll have to start with Myriad Treasure's store to find out the whole story, especially the few elders they sent to Songhua City this time." He looked over at Shui Bo, Xian Yutong, Renguangjuan, and Di Xinghua one by one and said coldly, "Yuan Bo clearly knows that I'm not strong enough, but he still came to me for help. It's obvious that there's no place for him in the 10,000 Treasures Tower. There must be someone among the 4 elders involved in this matter. All 4 of them are extremely powerful," Yunxiang said worriedly. "None of them are ordinary people. With our current strength, we can't do anything." "Don't worry," Yunxiao interrupted. "I'll be careful. I won't act rashly before I'm sure." Only then did everyone feel relieved. Suddenly, Mo Xiaochuan's pupils constricted, and his eyes, which were fixed on Yunxiao, flickered with a bright light. No one had noticed that Yunxiao's cultivation base had risen from 6 stars Martial Emperor to 7 stars Martial Emperor. He had broken through to 1 star in just one night. How much stimulation and crazy training did he have to go through to achieve such results? Mo Xiaochuan's throat was a little dry. He swallowed his saliva and remained silent. He had already buried the matter in his heart, but his fists were clenched tightly. The first round of duels ended very quickly. The martial arts competition used a point system, and the one with the most points would be first. When the drawing of lots for the second round began, Ding Ling's face suddenly changed after she got the green ball. She raised her hand and waved it in the direction of the back seat. It was actually number 1. Humph. A cold snort came from Qian Feng's mouth. The Mando Chamber of Commerce's number plate was number 2, and the two were not in the same group. What are you snorting for? You really need a beating. Young Emperor Hao Lian glared at him. You're just a toad, and you're only relying on your father's protection to have for such beautiful women. This is already intolerable by the heavens. Do you believe that I won't hit you? Impudent. Lord Cui, this person has spoken rudely. How should we deal with him? Zhu Keating asked Cui Bo angrily. Rude? Yunxiao sneered. Even if you speak rudely, it's the people of Tianyuan Trading Company who speak rudely to the son-in-law of the Mando Trading Company. Why do you, an outsider of the Blade sect, have to meddle in our business? Did you also marry into the Mando Chamber of Commerce? You coward. You little brat, you're so arrogant and lawless just because you have some ability. Do you really think that I won't dare to touch you? Zhu Keating said coldly. Li Yunxiao is right, Cui Bo said coldly. Even I didn't think of that. Chen Feng is the son-in-law of the Mando Chamber of Commerce, and Shao Jingming is an elder of the Mando Chamber of Commerce. You can be said to be a member of the Merchant Union, but you, Elder Zhu, with your status, how can you discipline my people? This buy-in. Zhu Keating was speechless. With his status, he did not have the right to interfere with the other party's actions in the double meet. Moreover, the members of the Blade sect were obviously not welcomed here. This could be seen from the cold hostility and ridicule coming from the surroundings. All right, Li Yunxiao. Just you wait. I'll come back to you after the business alliance is over. Zhu Keating flicked his sleeves angrily and left. He returned to the Mando Chamber of Commerce's seat in silence, but he stared at Yunxiao with undisguised killing intent in his eyes. The people of the Merchant Union could not help but admire Yunxiao, as he was the only one who had the courage to offend the Blade sect. Dogs that bite don't bark, Yunxiao said disdainfully. The louder they bark, the more useless they are. Bang. A muffled sound was heard, and Zhu Keating clenched his fist in anger. The air exploded, and a few of the Mando Chamber of Commerce's people were sent flying. It could be seen that he had reached his limit. Young Master Yun's demeanor is truly fascinating. Feiyu is ashamed. Li Feiyu couldn't help but admire him. If you encounter a duel with young Master Yun later, please show mercy. Good, good, Yunxiao said with a smile. You're welcome. Brother Li still owes me a favor. I wonder when you'll return it. Of course, there is a Chanqian. Li Feiyu broke out in a cold sweat and hurriedly turned around, not daring to say anything more. He was afraid that if he made a mistake, the other party would extort him again. If that happened, he would really be in tears. Yunxiao turned his eyes to the water curtain, and his eyes narrowed slightly. The person he was going to fight in the first round was actually Xiangzi from the Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce. Young Master Yun, blow him up with one punch. Young Emperor Haolian waved his fist and cheered loudly. Both of them leaped onto the Tiangang enamel plate. Xiangzi's face was filled with a faint smile, and his haughty temperament was not inferior to Yunxiao's. Li Feiyu suddenly thought of something and asked, "Who do you all think will win this battle? Who can win? Do you even need to ask?" Ren Guangyao said with a wry smile, "It's Li Yunxiao, of course. If he can even defeat Chen Feng, then I'm afraid only Feiyu can fight him." Li Yunxiao. Li Feiyu looked at the bet on the water screen, which was almost one-sided, and his face turned strange. There's no doubt about Li Yunxiao's strength, but I have a feeling that Xiangzi Shiji is very strange, and it's hard to detect its depth. Xiangzi's strength is indeed strange, Xian Yutong said. Even I can't see through it. But, the final winner will definitely be Li Yunxiao. Now that he knew Yunxiao's identity, he naturally had no doubt about the outcome of the battle. Even if Yunxiao only had the strength of a 7-stars martial emperor at the moment, it was absolutely impossible to kill him without the help of a martial emperor. Even a martial emperor might not be able to do it. Min Qingxiang of the Mando Chamber of Commerce also had a solemn look on his face. He had full confidence in Xiangzi, but he began to lose his confidence when facing Yunxiao, who could even defeat Chen Feng. The atmosphere on the heavenly astral jade plate suddenly became a little tense, and even Yunxiao noticed that there was something strange about the other party. What a strange feeling. Do you have some powerful trump card? Yunxiao asked as soon as he thought of it, making everyone feel dizzy. Of course, almost everyone had a trump card, but they would not say it out loud. That's right. I do have quite a few trump cards. I thought I wouldn't be able to use it, but I feel like you're not ordinary either. Perhaps I'll be able to use one or two. Xiangzi was not at all afraid, and his eyes suddenly turned serious as he said, "You really didn't get anything from the Heavenly Art Tower?" Yunxiao smiled. Oh. You seem to be very sure that I've gained something. Could it be that you understand that spell tower? Then may I ask what I should get? Xiangzi said coldly, I'm not going to argue with you. I know that no one can beat you with your mouth, so let me use my strength to knock you down and then take that thing. Let's see how capable you are. Yunxiao faced him head-on and made an inviting gesture. Xiangzi snorted coldly and did not hold back. He kicked with his legs and rose into the air, attacking. His cultivation level had always been at the level of a 1-star martial supreme. Under this impact, it had directly increased by 2 levels and rushed to the level of a 3-star martial supreme. Mo Xiaochuan furrowed his brows and said, "What a strong explosive force. Is he a 3 stars martial supreme? Maybe it's far from his limit, and this is just a warm-up." Xiao Huanghalian wasn't worried at all. Who cares? As long as he hasn't reached the rank of a martial supreme, I don't think anyone can pose a threat to young Master Yun. On the jade plate, Yunxiao responded unhurriedly. In the blink of an eye, he had exchanged hundreds of blows with his 4 fists in the air, and the air around him was constantly being blown up. Rings of spiritual pressure spread out, causing the second layer of defense to be activated. Both of them were fighting in close combat, simple moves without the slightest bit of trickery, completely a kind of head-on fighting style. Elder Xian, you seem to have a lot of confidence in Li Yunxiao, Li Feiyu suddenly said. Do you know why he is able to fight a martial supreme without being at a disadvantage even though he is only a 7 stars martial emperor? Xian Yutong's eyes were fixed on Yunxiao the whole time, as if he wanted to see through his true combat strength. He did not even look at Li Feiyu, but said indifferently, martial arts and body techniques. Martial arts and body techniques? Li Feiyu was stunned. Body techniques are easy to understand, but I can see that Wufu's martial arts are also very ordinary. Xiangzi's martial arts aren't any weaker than his. Cui Bo's eyes turned serious. Feiyu, you are not a martial supreme after all, so your observation is limited. Although Yunxiao's moves are simple and seem to have a lot of unnecessary movements, there is actually a smooth flow of rule power in each move. According to this situation, I'm afraid he can even withstand a few levels higher than a 3 stars martial supreme, let alone a 3 stars martial supreme. What? Li Feiyu was so shocked that he almost couldn't help but cry out, isn't rule force something that only martial sovereigns can control? That's true, Cui Bo said with a wry smile. Li Yunxiao's identity is too mysterious. He has overturned a lot of my knowledge. I won't find it strange even if Feiyu loses to him. His gaze fell on Xian Yutong and he said, Elder Xian seems to know something. Can't you tell us so we can understand? Perhaps it will be of great help to Feiyu when he defeats this person.